Okay, here I am in the Joe Diomede Telemumbron in the back of the ship in, and the lovely books behind us. And right behind us is a little pop-up music stall happening today, selling Fender Stratocaster guitars and everything, which is very appropriate because I'm sitting here with a man who's made the guitar his life, not selling them but playing them. Starting in the 70s, touring America. His CV is quite long. List of bands he's played with, I'm sure, will come out. Robbie Macintosh. How are you, Robbie?
Hi, Joe. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you as well. And so you were just telling me off camera that you started touring in the 70s, backing up touring with as a backup band to the Doobie Brothers?
Well, I started obviously playing over here when I was still at school. I started playing the guitar when I was about 6 or 7 years old. But my first big tour was in America with a band called Night, and we supported the Doobie Brothers. This is back in 1979.
79. So how old were you then?
America in 78. I was 21, I guess. And we recorded an album over there, and then we I spent most of 1979 in America, actually, touring or recording. So that was a kind of big break, and then came back and carried on working with Chris Thompson, who was in the group Night. We worked over here a bit, and then I got the gig with the Pretenders.
Yes, that's right.
Which was replacing my friend James Honeyman Scott, who died.
Right.
So I took over in '82.
So that's your second album then?
Third album, actually.
Right.
Yeah, they'd done 2 albums, and then Jimmy died, and then they contacted me because they knew Jimmy'd been in touch with me, and we were good friends, had similar tastes. And I went and did an audition, and then Chrissy offered me the gig. So I didn't just sort of get in at the back door. I still had to go in and have a play. And
right. So you proved your prowess on the guitar. And so did you always have a love for music and guitar? You decided at a young age, this is what I want to do. I want to be a rock star?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I stayed at school into the 6th form and tried in vain to get some qualifications, but I didn't get any. So I didn't go to university. And didn't go to I'd like to have gone to music college because I did classical guitar when I could already play. As I say, I started pretty young, but my mum wanted me to have proper guitar lessons when I was about 13. So I did classical guitar until I was about 18. I did all the grades, up to grade 8 and stuff.
Right.
But I'd like to have gone to music college, but it was hard. It was much harder in those days to get into music college. Mm-hmm. You had to have piano up to grade 5. There weren't none of the colleges did foundation courses in music or anything like that.
So where did you learn?
I just taught myself. I mean, after doing the classical thing, I just joined a band. I didn't go to college, didn't go to music college, didn't go to university. I just joined a band from the 6th form at school.
Okay, 6th form for American audiences, 18 years old?
Yeah.
Right.
18. That's the age you would leave school. You would go to college. You would.
Okay, so 18, right? So like a high school graduate in America. And so after the Pretenders, your CV gets quite interesting because you played with McCartney and you played with John Mayer, Norah Jones. Since I've known you, I've seen you on tour. I've caught you a few times.
I was doing quite a lot of session stuff, so I played on Talks records, for instance. 3 of their albums. I did some stuff with Paul Young and Tears for Fears and all sorts of other bands. So that when I wasn't touring or recording with the Pretenders, I was doing stuff outside that. So I was sort of a session man, really. And I left the Pretenders in '87 and was just doing sessions for a while. And then I did some sessions for Paul McCartney. And then he asked me to join his band in '89 when he kind of rejigged, started doing Beatles stuff again. It wasn't Wings. A lot of people make the mistake of saying I was in Wings. Wings was disbanded in the late '70s.
Okay. I actually had that idea as well. So you toured again with Paul McCartney doing the beat when he was redoing his Beatles stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't Wings. It was just the Paul McCartney band, and Linda was in the band, and Hamish Stewart was in the band. Hamish from the Average White Band. A lot of people make that mistake because me and Hamish playing together with Paul, people thought I was in the Average White Band because their original drummer was called Robbie Macintosh. And of course he died in the early 70s, so that wasn't me. So
yeah, obviously.
So yeah, I played with Paul for 6 years, I guess, up until '94, and then I just went back to doing sessions again. And I didn't actually join somebody else's band until till 2004 when I joined Norah Jones's band. I'd done a gig with somebody else with Norah on the bill, and we all kind of got on. And when they needed a guitar player to tour, they contacted me.
I remember.
An audition for that as well.
That's good. Well, Robbie, that's it. Your prowess, went before you. By that time, you had people knew.
You have to go and show your metal at an audition and all that. Sure. And then straight off of Norah's band, I joined John Mayer's band. Well, he called me. I didn't audition for that. He knew my reputation preceded me, and my friend Pino Palladino and Steve Jordan, the drummer, they suggested me to John because there's quite a lot of guitar stuff on his albums, and he needs somebody live to play the parts when he's soloing or whatever. So
yeah, you had to fill in.
I was with John on and off for about 4 years.
Yes, I remember. That's when we met up in New York. Actually, 2010 or so. You were touring with him. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the last stuff I did with John. Didn't work with him after that. Last year I got up and played with him at the O2 in London. He invited me up to play a song with him.
Right.
So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it seems like Weymouth is always a lot of music around here because I know you're on Steve Wilson's bands, and I interviewed Steve about his positivity stuff, and I've seen you playing. I had your privilege of seeing you play. In just pubs here in Weymouth, and so you just love playing, don't you?
Me and Steve and Jess have got a nice little trio. Me and Steve play as a duo. I've got my own band. Steve played bass in that. I've also got another trio with the percussionist and the keyboard player from my band. Percussionist called Jodie Lynn Scott. She's been around. She's played with everybody. She's been around years, and she's fantastic. And Steve Smith, he plays keyboard. So that's a trio thing. I'm going up to Glasgow next week to play with an old pal of mine called Kevin McDermott. And I'm also about to go on a little tour with a guy called John Ilsley, who was the bass player with the Dire Straits. So we're doing Holland and Germany for a while. I still work with Mark Knopfler now and again in the studio, do bits and pieces with Mark. Various other session work pops up here and there, so I'm just my own boss. Played with Tom Jones for quite a while, for about 2 years, but I jacked that in about 2 years ago now. And before that I played with Sinead O'Connor for a while, which was another on-off thing,
Wow, quite a colourful career for a man who taught himself how to play guitar. Didn't at the time back in the 70s couldn't go to further education in the classical guitar, but you've made quite a career. I think many people would be jealous of your career, Robbie. Your long list of rock and roll tours and albums, and you have your own CD, don't you? A few.
CDs, yeah. I'm working on. I've got one coming out in June, which is an instrumental thing, which is just one guitar and percussion, and it's a kind of tribute to Chet Atkins.
Oh, okay.
Called it Thanks Chet, which is a tune that I wrote years and years ago. It was a kind of little tribute to him.
And your last album, what was the name of your last album? Because we play that all the time.
Turn Up for the Books. Yeah, you can get that on Bandcamp. So, as I say, after I left Tom Jones's band, which is a couple of years ago now, I'm kind of my own boss again.
Excellent.
It's great, but then has its disadvantages because I've got to drive myself up to Glasgow on Wednesday.
Yeah, you were telling me off mic, a 10-hour drive to Scotland in February. Sounds good. Well, it's part of the rock and roll life. People see you on stage, but they don't realize there's lots of planes and there's lots of driving and overnight and sleeping in buses.
Yeah, you spend more time in the car than you do playing the guitar, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, Robbie, man, thank you. That was really, really great. And Robbie lives locally right here in Weymouth, which is great for the people of Weymouth. They get to see some excellent concerts, and there's good music in the area. Robbie, and you're part of that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe. Nice to see you, man.
All right, you take care. Right. Joe Diomede, tell him I'm Brun from the Ship Inn up in Upway in Weymouth. All right, take care. Upway. Bye-bye.